Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of A Voice in the Hollow. I'm your host, Miguel Ortega, and this is my co host, Tran Ma.
Hey everyone.
So, this week was catastrophic for us. We had a lot of hardware issues on our side, but we'll get to that in a minute. Just if you're tuning in for the first time, what this is basically a weekly vlog showing the making of an animated film, an animated like horror fable in Swahili, all done in Unreal Engine 5. So if you're tuning in for the first time, you're more than welcome to, but just uh, this is every single step of the way from concept design in first episode to where we're at right now, which is putting the finishing touches on stuff. So just keep that in mind. What else? That's it. So yeah, we're gonna be this week. Well, let me show you what we're doing, just for those that don't know what we're doing. I'm just gonna play the trailer real quick, and it's basically this is what we've been working on. So let me just show that real quick.
Nina nguvu, mimi ni chui. Nina nguvu, mimi ni chui. Nina nguvu, mimi ni chui.
So yeah, so that's that. That was a little quick little teaser we put up a few weeks ago. But yeah, so this week we were doing fantastic. Everything was going great, and then my computer had a complete meltdown.
Oh, it's like
And
one of the worst meltdowns too.
yeah, and the hard drive just disappeared, and immediately loaded up the backup drive. That hard drive completely disappeared. Uh, and then we started realizing that the computer was zapping the drive somehow and just killing them. So first we thought it was the drives themselves. So we went and bought two brand new drives, completely zapped again. So we're freaking out. We thought we lost everything, and we did lose a bunch of stuff. We had to get a program that does data recovery called Stellar, and it recovered a bunch of the files that were lost. But anyway, it was a nightmare.
Yeah, we're okay, but you still lose a lot of time over that because you're double checking your data, trying to recover, back stuff up, and then you're also panicking and dying inside.
Yeah, and remember, like Unreal projects, like it's like a terabyte file what we're working with. So like backing up often it's a terabyte, right? So you could fill up a hard drive, like a 4 terabyte hard drive, by just doing 4 backups. It's brutal. So anyway, but that's that. Let me see what else. Let me see. So let's see who we have here. Demo, what's up? James is here, just looking out. Yeah, so that's that. Um, so this week we're gonna cover. Let me show. Maybe I should show a little bit of what I have on the death stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, show that.
Okay, so let me share the screen. So can you hear this on your end? Like if I play this.
Hivi, ningetaka kukuchoma, ningemchoma. Lazima twende. Ngoja tuone kama
Yeah.
utapenda.
Okay, so then let me not share. Okay, so this is what we got this week. Let me play it from this point. So all this stuff at this point is crappy lighting.
Your screen's not sharing if you're not active.
So it's crappy lighting, no facial animation. Set dressing is not in place yet. At this point, we're just working on getting the edit in place.
Yeah, so it's a little bit like a somewhat previous stage.
Yeah, it's very much previous. So this is like our last fight between the two of them, but
Nani? Sasa najua ninachotaka.
See, no facial animation.
Baba anakutafuta. Lazima twende sasa hivi. Mkaka wako karibia unichome. Sasa hivi. Ningetaka kukuchoma, ningekuchoma. Lazima twende. Ngoja tuone kama utapenda. Jaribu. Hata ungeanguka kutoka kwenye mti, hungegonga ardhi. Wewe si chui. Tafadhali kaa kimya. Kila mtu anakuchukia na kuonya. Wewe ni aibu kwa baba. Toka!
So yeah, so like I said, very much at the Pre-vis stage for that. Everything is very rough, but the big thing was just getting the timing and the edit.
Yeah, and I think it turned out really good. That's also the hardest part, is getting the edit. So,
Well, yeah, just getting the tone of it, making sure
So-
it feels like there's a rhythm to it. So I'm pretty happy with it, and you know, I got a lot of this thing done this past week, and I was like, oh my god, this is going to be like the most productive week ever. And that's when we had the computer meltdown, and it went from being one of the most productive to being one of the least productive weeks.
well, yeah, and very stressful, very panicking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what we're working on now. So now we just got to make these shots look good, because they obviously look very ugly. Like some of these look all right, but the lighting is terrible on all of them. The set dressing is all screwed up. We're gonna have like the blood coming out of the injury on all of these shots. So on stuff like this, like I want to have the feet pushing the dirt around, so we have to get that going, and then like a puddle of blood around here. So by the end, they should just look like really messed up. And it's super dark for sure. That's one of the things that we were worried about, is when we finally saw this edit, it was like, oh my god, this thing is so much darker than I thought it was going to be. So I mean, it's a horror fable kind of story, so it's supposed to be, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I like it.
I like it too. But yeah, so now we got to continue the story. So now I got to get her to dump the body into the pit, and that's what we have over here. So this one was a very interesting piece. So initially, we did the motion capture for both of these characters. We have one motion capture suit, so we had the character play both roles, naively thinking that somehow we would get that to work. The problem with that, of course, is that when you try to do that, they don't line up at all, right? Obviously, like the pulling, the strength of the guy pulling is not going to line up when it's done twice by another actor that has to pull the motion capture person, and then the motion capture person has to pull someone else. It didn't work. So what we ended up doing is using the motion capture only for Koa, which is the red one right now, and then using Ragdoll Dynamics, which is a plugin, Ragdoll from, I think it's just Ragdoll Dynamics from Maya. So all of the secondary motion and everything is coming from this simulation, and it's acting the way it would act if it was being pulled by someone, which is pretty cool. And this was all put together and cleaned up by a Gnomon student, just graduated, Joey Park. So he did a great job with that. So we got to get this in there. So I just exported the Alembic files, and I got to figure out the lighting for this. But my idea with this shot is really to try to keep it as far away as possible and almost silhouetted. Like I kind of want something like that. Don't want it to be
I think that would look nicer too. Just putting it
at a distance.
Well, yes. I'm not sure the angle. 'Cause you can't rotate the sun. So, but I think it would be nice if it was silhouetted.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So something like that. But I do want it to be smaller because we just had this 1 minute sequence of seeing all this nasty blood. So I just don't want it to be.
You don't want to drag.
I don't want. Yeah. So just keep it at a distance, and then we have to dump the body into the hole. So yeah. So that's where we're at. Well, that's where I'm at, and then Tran is going to show you guys some of the stuff she's been working on this week. So you want to take over, Tran?
Yeah. So how do I? Okay. So it's my screen now. So aside from the meltdown crash, which affects both of us because I spent part of the time trying to extract data and back up more and dig up files, things like that. So that was
you had to see what you had that I lost.
Yes, and then it was checking the files, making sure that they work, which is super tedious, and that's all I can say. It sucks, right? I did manage to get quite a bit done despite all that. So I'm in the phase right now where I'm relighting shots, which is normal, like basically taking another pass at it, right? So a lot of this stuff is kind of like maybe first, second, or two passes, but really lighting, you can do so many versions of it until you finally get it right.
We've redone the lighting on almost every shot at least 4 times.
This is a question. Do you want to see that?
We can't get too into specifics like that today. I mean, I'll bring in some Alembic stuff in here, but we're not going to talk about animating because most of this stuff is done with motion capture. So that's in one of the episodes we've done, but that's like...
Yeah, we've been using a lot of mocap. But everything gets processed through Maya. So all our rigs and animation would be in Maya, and then it gets exported as an Alembic. And that Alembic is imported into Unreal.
Yeah. So all of this is motion capture. We have a few shots that are not motion captured. Let me see if I could pull them up actually, because they're actually really cool.
Well, and then how do you get it? So
that I'll show later. I can show.
So yeah, so to interact with the environment and details that world. Well, we have to export. A lot of the environment layouts are all done in Unreal, and then what we do is we export like a mesh out of it, and then we bring that into Maya. And so if you need contact, then you have the scene inside. So, but yep. So in using Maya, in Maya we'll have rough terrain based on what we are laying out in Unreal. Okay, so I'm going to jump to...
Let me show this real quick.
Yeah,
so this is like an example of like a shot.
You got to share your screen.
I know. That is not motion captured because it was impossible. Let's one of us do it.
All right, go ahead and do it.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
So obviously, like this couldn't be motion captured because
we're not gonna do that to a person.
So this is hand animated, and this is animated by one of our animators. We now have 2 guys working for us just to get all this stuff finished. They're just completely killing it. So yeah, so that's one. Let me show you another one that is. All hand animated. quality of this one looks kind of low.
It is low, but it's
yeah.
enough to see. You get an idea of it.
Yeah. But yeah, but those are the type of shots that we're doing by hand, and then everything else is motion capture. This is kind of a combination of both. Yeah, you haven't seen this one, Tran. You can see
I haven't seen it. Yeah.
Boom. Just packs the mask, and it actually makes it more brutal that way.
Yep.
So.
You can see it's a dark story.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah. Anyway, you want to show your stuff? Sorry.
No, it's good. Yeah. So today I'm going to talk about what I have gotten done in lighting. So let's see a couple of things here. And I did quite a bit. Like, but let me figure out where to start. Just load up this map. So here's some of the shots. The shot that I relit. Pull this away. Let's just play it. This one is, let's see. Let's play it a couple of times. She runs out and Koa sees, this is her POV. And Miguel had this idea, which I thought was super cool, to have like these font or letters pop up, introducing the tribe. So this is basically the first time you, it's not working. Give me 1 second.
The first time you meet the leopards. So
yeah.
the word leopard is chui in Swahili. So we thought it would be really cool, a stylistic way of introducing them. The letters are literally in 3D space and they fade in.
Yeah. So at this point in the story, we met her. We met the two main characters, which are two girls. And then at this point, this is the very first shot of these characters. So we thought it would be kind of cool and stylish. At least I thought it was stylish to just have these letters come in as they fade in. So we didn't have that before. Basically, before they just, oops. Give me 1 second. This was the shot without it. And this took me a moment to figure out how to do. So it's not as straightforward as certain things, right? What I tried to do at first when I was making these letters, you can actually see how this is laid out, actually. So this is laid out a little bit odd. When you're looking at it front, it looks like they're all on one plane, but they're not. The reason being is that it would be, we didn't want these letters to actually cover the characters because you wouldn't see the characters, but we wanted the letters to cover the environment. So as you can see, they sit on top of everything except for the characters. And the only way to do that was to kind of stagger them.
It's a perspective trick you made.
Yeah,
Cool.
It's a trick. And just place them like this, okay? And then the way that they are created, they're just on these planes. The material is super simple. All it is, let me just come here. Let me open up the master. Is that it's a translucent material, and the color is going through the emissive. If I just plug into base color, it will be affected by the lighting. So if I plug the color into emissive, it will just shine like a flat, solid color. And that way it won't have like shading that we want. So we want it to be very graphic and flat. And I'll talk a bit about what these are. Now, the reason why I set it to translucent is I do have other translucent materials in here. So let's see if I can find some of my fog cards. So if you take a look here, I also have these fog cards kind of floating around the scene just to build the atmosphere. And I realized if I set this to a translucent material, you can actually change like the sort order or priority. right? So what was happening was some of these cards were sitting on top. And if I only have it as a mask material, I can't really change that. By it being translucent, I can say this is always on top. So all of these have like a higher value when we're looking at this value right here. Okay. And if I click on these cards, you can see that they are set at 0. Let's come back here. Now, the one thing that I had trouble figuring out was how to get it to fade in. So it's not hard. You can see that there's a nice kind of fade. Initially, what I tried to do first, let's just duplicate it.
It's funny seeing you do this because I actually had no idea how you did it, even though you sit right next to me.
Yeah, let me just open up.
That's cool.
This one here. No. I'm just going to make sure I don't save this file because I get really nervous about when I do these demos, I actually destroy my file. Let me just delete this.
Best thing to do is just duplicate the sequence and just call it demo.
It doesn't work. A lot of stuff is broken when I duplicate the sequence. It has to be reconnected. Okay, so now I got rid of my fade, and I'll go over how I did the fade in a second. My first thought, here's my sequencer for that scene. So you can see I have my cameras and all my Alembic files. If I go to my outliner and I drag this plane in, let's pull this to the top so I don't lose. You can see I have a bunch of stuff in here. It's organization nightmare because you can't actually group anything in your sequence. So really, any requests I would have to make is like, please let me group crap inside the sequence folder because I have this really long list. Give me 1 second. And when I drag it in, it just pops in whatever. Okay, so now that my plane is in here, I can attach my actor hitting in game like this. And I can turn this off, this visibility. So you can see as I'm clicking on it, the letter C is turning on and off. So I thought, okay, look, maybe when it hits this point, I'll key the visibility on. And then here, I'll have it off and I'll key it off, right? So now at this point it's off. Once it hits this frame, it's on. But you can see what it's doing is it just is popping on, right? So it's not really what we want. It just feels like it comes out of nowhere. And then fade seems like a very simple thing. Once you know how to do it, it is simple, but it wasn't that simple for me to figure it out. So when I try to research and go, how do you do like a nice fade in Unreal? A lot of it are more game features, meaning for like in-game playing. And we're not making a game. We're trying to tell a story. Or it's a cinematic, basically, and using sequencer. And a lot of theirs were camera based. So you can Google this and find it pretty easy. But basically, if you get close to an object, it would disappear or appear, things like that. And you can key it with a keyboard command. And those things do not work at all. I don't know how to control that into the sequence. Why not do this in post? We didn't do it post because our pipeline for compositing is not really there. It is there when we are doing stuff inside of Maya, but we're just not able to get like the passes right.
We got the passes right. Just the issue is this: the only way to do this is you'd have to render it out with no motion blur, with no depth of field, in order to use CryptoMats in Nuke.
Yeah, so
right. So
sounds like a nightmare.
Once you do that, then you have to reapply the motion blur, reapply the depth of field, and we haven't gotten it to look as good as what we're getting inside of Unreal. And I know Nuke pretty damn well, and I still have not been able to match it 1-to-1. So that's the reason. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, that type of stuff is new for Unreal because it's a game engine.
That was regarding this question here.
Yeah.
And trust me, like my first thing when we tried to do this project was, okay, we got to learn how. We have to figure out how to have a nuke pipeline, and I just have not been able to get it to work perfectly. It is not. It's not fully there.
Yeah. So what I did is I did a lot of research, and then I found some forum old posts, and it didn't even have instructions. It was just like, yeah, you can do this in sequencer. What you need to create is, let's do it in here. Under material, I'm going to right click, go under materials, and I create a material parameter collection. So this to me is like a miracle. What this is it will allow me to key certain attributes. So let's say I look at my material that's applied onto this letter C. So I have my material open here. I don't have any way to actually key any of this, right? The way I can with certain other attributes. So if I, for example, come over to my light or something like that. Let's see, let me find my lighting. And then I look at my outline here. What I have is always basically any button that has this plus sign means that it's keyable, right? And then if I press something in here, I'll get a key inside sequencer if I have my object inside of it. So I have my directional light. All I have to do is press the button and I have a key. Now my material, again, just coming back here to look at it, doesn't have any of that. It's just empty, just has a reset arrow. Now, the way, which is making a huge difference, and it's kind of sad that I've learned this now, to actually do that is you can create a new material collection like this. And once you have it, you can change the name. And I'm going to double click and open it. And I need to set whatever it is I want to set here. So it's empty, right? Yeah, material parameter collection is overpowered. Well, I didn't know about it. Okay, so I add a plus button. And it's scalar, meaning it's like 0 to 1, right? Black and white. And I can change the name here. So I can call this, opacity strength, for example. Once I have something like this, I can go into my master, drag this in here, and then I can tell it to link to my opacity strength. So I have one here already. I'll just delete this one. So you can see I have this connected, and it's multiplying my actual texture here, right? Now, as long as this is at 1, it will drive it. But once this value goes to 0, it will make it disappear. Okay, so if we come back here now, and I go in here, let me just drop it in. I realize how squish it is when I try to put everything into one window. It's super squishy. I drag in this thing I created, and I can just tell it, okay, one of the parameters I set up, I'm going to attach the emissive strength. Let's move this back over here. Once I have this, right now the value is at 1. But if I set this to 0, I think I broke my scene. Give me 1 second.
Social media stuff. This is it. Tran figures that out. Just Instagram, and that's it. That's usually where I post anything related to this. So there is going to be a premiere for this, hopefully at Gnomon. I can't give any details at the moment because we don't have them totally locked down yet, but we'll share all that information on there as well.
Oh, I'm using the wrong one because I'm being really, really dense. I just dragged in the wrong one. Give me 1 second. Here we are. So I have a few of them set up. I have my opacity here. That's set at 1. And now here, if I set my opacity, say like 0, I now have this fade. And it's simple, but really, really powerful. And we've needed something like this for a while. Okay, so that's how I did that type of thing. Let me just close this sequence. And then I'll just show you some of the other shots that I had relit. So basically, I did a bunch of stuff. I do have a topic that I kind of want to focus on. And I think maybe it's better to see some before or after. So let me just close this. And let me just minimize this. And basically look at it through Premiere. So if you want to take some of our old shots. So one of our old shots is this. I'll just play it. And then now the shot looks like this. Let's start it. So this is what it looks like currently. And I tend to watch these shots in loop just to know how it's looking.
This is like the 4th time this shot has been relit.
Yeah, and then this is the last previous version. You can see it looks a lot more chalky and dusty. And the colors are, I mean, it's not the worst. Colors are not there.
It's more sepia.
I have some of the old shots. Should I show some of
Yeah.
the old here sound? Okay, so here sound shot.
These are terrifying.
These are terrifying.
But just to show you, like, we never get to where we want to be right away. It's constantly
if you look at
revisions.
If you look at our old streams, we basically start the stream, and just for those tuning in first time, our background is on the film side of stuff. So Unreal is like a new pipeline for us. And I would say lighting in this program is really, really hard. It's not hard technically, it's hard to make it look good artistically. And I'll just play this shot. So when we first started ingesting stuff, it would look like this. Of course, you know, I was having like a heart attack because they looked really terrible. And there was all kinds of issues. So we also have all these black splotches, which we eventually resolved. That's coming from like nanite meshes and lumen.
You know what, though? Even at this stage, though, where it looks horrific, I thought, okay, we're going to get this to work.
Well, I don't feel that way. I was like, oh my God, this lighting looks really, really awful.
I thought we were going to get it to work.
Well, I didn't have that confidence. And, you know, if we were lighting this in V-Ray, you just put a light and everything would look fine. The software just works out all your lighting for you. It's really easy, and it's not like that in here at all. We started doing, let's go for it. So we started trying to fix it. And this is still like an older version. And of course this is better, but it's still, you know, we were happy that it even looked like this, because as you can see, the previous version was really horrible. All right, but we're trying to refine it. So here's this version.
And keep in mind, this is not just lighting changes. These are like the entire set is being completely thrown out and remade.
Yeah, so when you look at here, this is our old set. I was very unsure about the art direction, and you can see it's just like these trees and dirt and then some grass and things like that, but it's pretty generic. And again, this was before. This is our final. Well, let's jump back here. This one's much better, but I still felt when I looked at her, her face looked kind of weird. So that was something that I had to struggle with a lot when I'm lighting it. It's like, how do you not make the face look bad?
She looks pretty here, though.
Well, she looks better, but here's the final. So this is what my final version today as of now. And you can see how the forms, well, there's a little bit more color, right? The blue is a little bit richer. There's more red. And if you look at her face, the light is wrapping around much more nicely. Whereas this one, it's very close. You don't really feel this side. You feel kind of like these highlights over here. And again,
I do like that though.
the old one,
The previous one, I still like it.
but you like the new one more, right?
Yes.
Or you're not sure?
I'm not sure.
I'm
in between.
Well,
I like the color in the new one much more, but there is something that I like about it's a little bit spookier.
Yeah, but you can just grade this.
We could grade it, yeah.
You can bring it down.
Yeah.
To me, this is better. The color is better. It's a little bit more.
I like the wetness in the eyes more before.
Well,
go back to that.
It's just darker.
Yeah, but the speck pops out more.
I like this more. You can see her forms.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. I'll show you some other stuff too. So this was like one of the last versions of this shot. Now, if you watch the previous streams, I constantly talk about how difficult it is to backlight, and this is a backlighting
in Unreal.
Yeah, in Unreal, it's very difficult because it looks bad. So you can see the shot here, and I thought it felt all right, but it's not what I want. So I relit this, and this feels more correct, more atmospheric. The light glows look better, and then the palette is also better, and she feels more backlit. If you take a look at her, she's in silhouette, right? And all this is in silhouette.
This one's way better.
Yeah. And you take a look at this one. She's kind of in silhouette, but she's got some light on her. It feels a little strange.
I think the colors are muddier here too.
Yeah, it's weird. It's not muddy, but it is. You can see the reds here. When we look at these plants, they feel rich. So they're in shadow, but they have like a deep red. And I'll go over how I address that. And then this one here, this feels fine, but these get really gray and ashy, and they don't have that rich tone when they get dark. So that's another issue that I was trying to deal with. So let's take a look, and I'll try to explain how I approach this as best as I can. Let me just load. Make sure that's loaded up. Give me 1 second. Okay. And let me open up the old map here. Okay, so this is like the old one. And let me just open a second viewport. I get nervous doing this because this is pretty hard on my computer to have multiple things going on. Make sure this is more minimized. So this is generally how I work. I'll have the shot lit, and then maybe I'll keep this unlit. But sometimes I just need to see this lit. Let's just light it. You can see I have a lot of lights here trying to fill it in, right? If I turn some of them off, right? So it's pretty much fake rim lighting and all that stuff. That wasn't working out for me. So what I did is I basically grabbed every light here and just hit delete. That put me back into just my regular lighting in my scene, which is being lit with a HDR, directional light, and I have exponential fog in a post-process. Turn this off over here. So my first thought is I'm not really using the sun to my advantage, right? It's not really backlit. It's in shadow because, well, I have all these mountains blocking the light. And then the other thing that I was thinking is like, maybe I don't need, I couldn't get that backlight because I have too many objects in the way. I'd like it if the sun was shining through here. So let's just grab my directional light here. And then move it basically to where she's at so you can see it over here. And what I did is like, okay, let's just actually try to backlight it. I usually control all this through here. Sometimes I find that if I do it out here and I'm not doing a sequencer, it for certain attributes, it gets becomes a permanent fix, permanent thing, and I don't want. Okay, so I've rotated this. You can see I have it actually shining through. And then I'm just going to angle it, rotate it down a little bit, and I'll get something like that. And let's just key that. So now that's a little bit better. And then what I started trying to do is thinking, do I really need all these objects to block all my light? So what happens if I hide them? Why would I want to hide them? I would like more bounce light to spill in. And I only want to create the illusion that it's actually dark. So I took a bunch of these here. And I dropped these in my sequencer. Maybe this last rock I didn't take. And I'm just going to hide them. And you can still see that it still feels pretty backlit. Let's get rid of all this stuff back here. I really want the light to kind of pour in more. Same thing with these things. And you can see light is starting to spill in a little bit more. Now, the other thing I also did is increase my fog. So I have my exponential height fog. The way I usually key it is I will just hit the key button. And I increase this to like 1 or something like that. And it looks overly lit. But then I'll go into my post-process and adjust my exposure. And start bringing this down. And then I start adjusting, it's key, all this here. My saturation, I'm probably gonna bump this up. I'm getting nervous that it's gonna look like crap while I'm doing the stream. And as far as what I deal with all this gray stuff, because that's the stuff that tends to look ugly when it's being hit by fog and it looks really washed out, is I actually started creating lights like this here. And just hitting it from the front. Let's give this more intensity. I'm going to make this pretty strong, so it's at 500. So when I hit light from the front, it looks like it's from the front. So what I do is soften the shadows by increasing my source radius. So it just feels more like a soft fill. And if it's really shiny surface, like it has a strange shine, then I'll also come into my spec and lower my specular scale. So it feels more like a bounce when I do something like that. And what I end up doing a lot that seems to work is I color my light to match my environment. So I want to bring out the red, so I tend to do that with it. Now I don't have any light hitting these bushes here. right? So I'll aim a light somewhere here and then just try to position it more artfully. I just realized I'm not going to get 100% the result in while I'm talking and streaming. So it is getting a little bit closer. It still it looks bad, but let me just open up the final one, and I think the breakdown will do a little bit better. Oh, I still have these lights hanging out. So let's just grab these. And I'm gonna press delete, which I shouldn't have pressed delete. So I don't know if anyone else has this issue, but whenever I press delete, the computer freezes and sometimes it crashes. Okay, so here's my final. Let me break down these lights here. I'm gonna hide them. Okay. And I still have my light, my directional light here. Let's turn it on and off. That is being backlighting it. Let's turn everything off. Okay, so I have everything off. The only thing I have right now is fog. Let's hide the fog. And I still have a light leaking through somewhere. Which I believe that light should be off. There we are. Okay, so my scene's dark. And then let me just break down how this looks. So let's turn on my directional light. And I realize I should just be putting this here as my cinematic view, and then this as not, because I'm putting this bunch of stuff on top. Stuck. There we are. And let's just unlight this. Okay, so with my directional light only on, this is the look I'm getting. Let me turn it back off. And my other lights keep popping back on, probably because I'm scrubbing and they're set to be on. And so when I scrub through my sequencer, it's just turning on automatically. So here's my directional light. And here's my HDR. My HDR is just giving me kind of even, nice lighting. The directional will give me the stronger one. And then I'll have my fog. So this is what it looks like without my post-process. It's really, really, really bright. And I kind of mentioned this before. Now I've darkened my image here with the post-process. And what I did with these fill lights, so I basically have 3 spotlights that are picking up the more detail on the surface. And let's just take a look at it outside. And let me turn them on. So this one here gives me more of that fake effect, as if the sun is really intense. So I like that. It's kind of blowing out some of this. And what these ones are doing is they're filling my foreground. So this is a spotlight that has like an orangey color. And I believe I kept the spec because it didn't seem too shiny. And then I have another light coming over here, which is meant to hit these bushes in this foreground. So I'm just very carefully filling it in. Now, what I find is I need to light really, really bright. So you can see how bright it is. But when I turn off the post-process, you can see that there's a lot of shading going on in here, right? So we feel like dimension in the bushes. And that's what I've been doing. So I've been lighting it brighter enough so that the objects don't feel really flat, and then bringing it down in my post-process. Give me 1 second. I'm having a disorganization moving all these windows down. And
hold on. Someone asked a question. Let me just answer it.
yeah, go ahead.
Do you guys think we can make a video for beginners? Like which programs? We're probably not going to do that, but Gnomon has a ton of great videos that you can watch that are a little bit more intro. I think this one is much more, the series is a little bit more advanced, but it's still a good thing to watch so that you can kind of visualize the long-term.
Yes. Well, probably most people, when they saw what we were doing in the beginning, they're like, dude, your stuff sucks. And then I was thinking and I know it looks ugly, and we both know that. Maybe by looking at the beginning stuff, you can just kind of see the process of getting through something.
Yeah.
On an artistic level. So yeah.
So there is a lot of Gnomon videos that are intro on Gnomon workshop. So you should check that out.
So if you look over here and I turn off my exposure, or if I just readjust it to what I had it before. So I basically been lighting more like this. And then my gamma, how I bring it down is through my exposure and the gamma, my global gamma. And before I added all those lights or whatever, it looked all right, but I will light this bright. Basically, this would be kind of my starting point. Without the post-process, it's this, but this is my default post-process. And whenever I'm doing with the dark shot, there's just as a backlit dark shot, I will adjust my gamma. And then I will also adjust the strength of my exposure. So it's already at negative 0.5, and I probably went negative 1.5, which brought it down. So I light very bright, bring it down. Now, what happens sometimes, as I bring everything down, it makes the entire image really dark. So, I end up adding lights like this, for example, to make the sky still very intensely bright. But my scenes are like really crazy bright without it. If I don't do this and I try to light just like this, it tends to look, it gives you that weird look. It, basically this kind of like really washed out, flat, strange look that you can see on this bush here, but it'll be everywhere. So I've struggled a lot with backlighting because it's very hard to get away from whatever this look is here. I can show again on basically this shot. To me, I think this one's better than the old one. I like seeing her face not look strange. Some of the characters, when you light them and you don't light them right, they look really weird.
She looks really weird when she's poorly lit. In particular, she looks
like
an old lady.
She looks like a nightmare. I mean, she looks like let's go back. If she's okay, it's so scary looking. So let me just load. Let me load this one. And this one has gone through multiple passes already. So if I scrub through this one's not used to. I don't know where my player is. Give me 1 second. A lot of views, camera snap. I can't seem to get in that shot.
You have to enable your camera in sequencer.
It is enabled. I think it just kind of broke.
Click on that. Go to allow cinematic.
Yeah, but it's kind of.
And now enable it in.
There we are. But I don't have my time slider. That's where I don't see it. Do you see what I mean? It's fine. We'll just ignore the missing time slider. So I scrubbed this through sequencer, which kind of sucks. Okay, so let's say I go over here. And I try to relight this from the beginning. I realized I try to put too many lights. So I'm just going to come in here and delete. I mean, there's a lot of lights. Delete all that. And that leaves me with my directional post-process. A habit that I've been doing is just putting all my main lighting and just keeping them together. You can see I have a bunch of stuff in here. There's too many things. I wish I could organize the sequencer more. It's a pain in the butt. But I have my directional light, post-process, exponential, and HDR. Without my post-process, it's pretty bright. Now, what I started doing here, or some of the issues that I have with backlighting that makes me kind of scared of doing it. Let's bring over my directional light so I can show. Let me just hit a key here. Bring this over here where my character is. She is back here somewhere. And let's say I rotate this. And I try to give it that rim. Let's key that. I think that the light might be kind of weak. So I'll create a key for the intensity. Let's try increasing that intensity. And let's key that. So it starts having this really strange kind of lifted look. Right, where it looks very weird. Maybe the light is a little intense. Let's bring it down a little. But what I do to try to compensate for that, again, is just place more lights around here. So if I'm going to come in, let's make some new lights. I've been using the spotlight a lot. I'll take this here and start lighting her face so I can see more form. Something like that. Actually, I don't think this frame is the one I want to light for this one. Give me 1 second. Okay. Now, this doesn't look like she's in the dark. So I'm going to bring it down. But first, I want to tint it kind of a bluish color so it feels more shadowy. And the thing that makes it feel like that it's not in the dark is you're getting these specular hits that looks like a direct light. So I would usually go into my spec. And again, this is what I've been doing for my dark scenes that are supposed to be shadows. Then I'll bring it down, and you can see that it doesn't feel like there's so much light hitting her. So I brought it down to 0.2. I won't do it at 0 because you see the form starts flattening out. So at 0, it just feels like really dusty here. I don't know if you can see in the stream. Can you tell, Miguel?
I mean, you can tell, but
it looks very ugly when it's like dusty, right? So it will never be at 0, or else I have this kind of dusty face I don't like. So I usually try to bring it to maybe 0.2 at most. And now with that spec hit, it's less dusty looking. And then maybe I'll give it a little bit more color and possibly just bring down, or maybe keep it up at 0.8, right? So it's going to get really bright. Now I'm going to put a fill light in her shadow. So her shadow area is like basically, you know, this side of the cheek here. And just rotate it this way. And I also should be softening my shadows because that adds to harshness. So let's, try bringing this at 5. And I really want to avoid the shadows, so maybe this one be at 10. Now what I did with this one here is tinting it kind of a red-ish color, but it's too strong. So let's bring it down to like 0.2. But then, the light is kind of wrapping around. I'd also like if when I'm looking at this, I'm not really doing it carefully. She has these shadow forms on her brows. I try to light it in a way that it, if I'm blowing so much light, it doesn't flatten all that stuff out because I still want to see some of that shadow. Maybe let's bring this down to 0.5. If I keep blasting blue light, she's going to turn super blue. So that's kind of why I want the red. And I just assume, we need more red in our environment. Now, the other thing I ended up doing was giving her a rim because we like rim lights. So this one will be rim light. And I'm just trying to wrap it around the face. And the speck, let's bring it back to like 1 because I think the rim lights with speck looks good. So I'll get something like that. And now my scene is intensely bright. Maybe my sun is too bright, but I won't know until I actually go into my post process in here and I start adjusting my settings. So I already have contrast, gamma, and exposure, but my gamma is only at 1, so it's default. So first, I usually will just try both out. So let's say I set my gamma at 0.9. And when I do in sequencer, I got to do each channel. That helps bring it down. And then I will adjust my exposure. And now it starts to look like she's more in the dark. Right? I might come in here, let's just key this. And I think maybe my direction was too strong. So try bring it down. Which maybe it's not. Let's put it at 10. It's a little strong. But then I'm going to also look at my other lights that are hitting her. And maybe I want to increase them. So the one that's hitting this part of the face. Let's try this at 12. Or maybe 10. And then this one might be, let's try 3. No, that's flattening out the face too much. Try 2. But basically is this. There's not like a formula. But this has been giving me results that I need when it comes to backlighting. I don't know if anyone's tried backlighting. All my backlighting shots tend to look like crap. And I have to work at it pretty hard to make it better. But I'll just, eventually just keep balancing this. It's a little too bright back here. So I might decide, to bring down my directional light even more. Or I could adjust even my fog color. So if I come here to my exponential height fog, there's an albedo here under volumetric fog. I'll key that. And I might bump up saturation. Maybe I want more blue. So this is, a stylized piece. I could also darken it. It's a little bit different effect when you darken it here versus darkening your light. And my blue is not as intense anymore, which is fine. If I lose, I want like a white hotspot. So I can just place another light above, which I had in my other scene, I think. And that's just going to kind of make sure that it feels more blasted. But yeah, it's basically kind of like day for night for all my dark scenes. So let's say this here, I want this to look like it's coming through. I usually keep the intensity low, and I might overcrank the volumetric scattering. Let's try this at 100. Still not seeing it. Is this off? It's on. I'm not doing this very, very balanced. So I might have something really strong like this. So you can see that ray. And I might shorten the radius. Oops. Shortened it really short. So now it doesn't travel everywhere. And the reason why I would do that is it gives me a better fade than if I just have the light shooting all the way through. So I don't really, normally with this, I'd want light to be strong here and start fading. And it's going to get darker in this section. And by adjusting the attenuation radius, that kind of gives me that look. And I might come in and frame this. But it's really bright right now, so it's not very balanced. And I'll sit there and I'll adjust the lights and all that stuff. Let's take a look at what the final actually looks like. Just open that. Oh, I have all these extra lights. Give me 1 second. There we are. So now we're back. And I do have a lot of lights hitting her. So my scene will be like this, in this case. Let's turn these on. So here's my red fill light that's kind of warm. And that would be the face light. I have this faking the sun. And then I start lighting the back plants here to give it more red. Let's see. You can see I have red in it. If I don't put red, it tends to turn kind of gray. I have another light here. This is, oops, a rim for the tree.
I like that one.
And this is the rim for the face. And this is just a little top lighting to feel like the sky is bouncing light around. But I never had the light like this in like nowadays in a renderer, because you get all this for free. Like you just put a light and everything bounces around and it looks super, super great. I think you can get stuff to look good in Unreal, but it's just not easy.
Yeah, the tough thing for beginners is in a program like V-Ray, it does all the stuff that looks realistic for you.
Yeah.
Here you kind of have to have done that kind of stuff and understand how light works, and then know what you need and then add it yourself, which makes it a little bit trickier because you have to fake all the stuff that you normally get for free.
Yeah, so you get that stuff for free, and you don't have to be a great lighter. You can just go, oh, what would happen in real life? And then you put, you just put light in the scene. And then if I was lighting this in V-Ray, I already know I'd probably have some kind of dome light. Maybe there would be an HDR. It would basically get me all this fill. And then I'd probably have just an intense light coming back here. So I might be able to achieve this look with like 2 lights. The amount of lights I have is not 2 lights. I have all this in my sequencer. So these are all my lights to try to achieve that effect. There's a comment. Does bounce on top makes it feel a bit more soft? Yeah. The other thing that I'm fighting a lot is that things in Unreal tend to look harsh. It doesn't soften. So what I mean is like if you look at my shadows, they just every object looks kind of harsh, and the characters can look harsh, which looks very weird, and just really ugly. So, we come back here. Ugh. So you can see I have like all this hard lighting. This was
This
like
is exactly the same shot. Like that's almost the exact same frame.
it's probably the same animation,
Yeah.
same exact animation, except it doesn't have facial expressions in
Which
here.
makes a big difference, in all fairness. Go to the version 2 of this.
Yeah, version 2 is much better. But I can understand what's going wrong around here.
What's funny is when we got this, we were so happy. We're like, oh, this is starting to come together. And I think part of what we were happy about now in hindsight is how much better it looked from the crappy thing we had initially.
Well, yeah, if you're looking at this for a long time, you're just like, geez,
We're doomed.
we're doomed, right? And then my first thought is like, how is anyone lighting anything? We didn't have anyone teach us lighting, because most of our friends are all film people. Like usually,
In Unreal, you're saying.
yeah, usually all our people, the people that are acquaintances and colleagues, they're not doing stuff in Unreal the way we want to do it. So
Well, I mean, to be fair, this is Unreal 5
it's new.
early access. No one had experience with this really.
No one had experience,
This
and
is
so
a Lumen.
yeah, like I'll show you what, like if I dump a light. So I was doing I just threw it inside of V-Ray just to see how it looks, but I just tossed the light on, and you can see like all the lighting. I'm not saying this looks beautiful. She's missing her eyeballs, but if we just examine the surfaces, there's no harshness, there's no anything. I just pop a light on, and it's just gonna wrap around the form really nice, and I get this nice fill, and I don't have to fake all of that. And you can see that, whereas like you get this, right? And it's terrible. This is when I would say big thing is just handling how I deal with the post process. So we had the post process on because everyone's like, oh, you're supposed to use it, and we were just basically using it to kind of make the colors pop, to get things out of focus. As you can see here, it's getting soft back here, but our shadows are really crunchy and really harsh. This transition's nasty. And if you look up here, like where I'm talking about, where it's really harsh, like you can see it up in the hair. I don't know how to zoom in here, but because I don't usually, Miguel is like the editor, Premiere guy, but all this area, the lighting looks really crunchy, and that's what we want to avoid. And to avoid that, to get soft shadows, it's lighting really bright and then bringing the image down, and then all your shadows are much softer. But like this flatness is just how lighting works by default. So it had no fill light around here. You can see the form here is almost one solid color. Like I could probably color pick it, and it would be like super, super solid. So it doesn't get like, again, this is what I'm used to getting just by dumping a light in a renderer. Like you can see it's never turning flat, right? There's a lot of complexity in here. There's even soft.
That's just one light, you said.
Well, there's an HDR,
Okay.
but the HDR is very low. This is two lights. So one key light hitting it, and HDR, and the HDR will give me this complexity. So I don't have to do anything. Like all that work is figured out. Whereas, it's very baffling that, again, we come back here and the faces, there is a dome light, there is ray tracing, but we're not getting any complexity. Like I don't even know where the shoulder is here or where her cheeks are. And then the brow form here is completely gone. Yeah. And then here, I'll say what's wrong with this one. We were like, okay, we got to light a little bit brighter. We started understanding that, and we have to create the fill light. So we have a fill light hitting this side of the face. The problem with this one is the specular is really strong, right? So it feels like a shiny. It brings out all these weird sharp edges on her face. You can see it here. It just looks, kind of ugly. And then you can see these little highlights, which I don't mind so much, but they're very distracting when I see all those things. So that was bringing down some of the spec. And I don't think, if you were to turn off our post process, the scene would be a little bit brighter. It wasn't really lighting it bright enough. So, eventually get the hang of it. And you can see, I think that the idea is when you look at this, you feel the form, but there's no harsh highlights inside the shadow, right? And it feels soft, and getting that softness is really tricky. So, because everything naturally by default is harsh and kind of crunchy. So that's what I've been doing here. Let's see. Anything you want to add?
No. To this discussion?
Yeah. What about anything else? Other things that we've been doing?
No, I would just show some of the other before and afters on some of the other shots you've been doing.
Okay, so let me just take a look. Just give me 1 second.
Someone said 5.1 will bring foliage support. Yeah, that's cool. The problem is we don't want to upgrade to 5.1 in the middle of a project because we feel that everything will break. But next one.
So whenever we were upgrading before, and you update your project, all the lighting gets messed up. So it's really, really terrifying. Let's look at this one. Actually, I have to load the map. Give me 1 second. So. Here. I mean, I don't know how well I'm explaining this stuff, but I wish someone explained this to me. So here's a shot that I relit. You can see the final. Let me just bring this into Premiere. And I'll try bringing the old one. This is called Alibi. So let's look at one of our first, some of our old framing. I would just bring in a few and then we'll take a look at it. And let's import the final. So I'll bring in like 2 previous versions. Okay, so this was our first pass at it. This is where Miguel is just trying to block in. So it's that previous stage. Her clothes are all wrong, and the lighting and expressions are not there.
Even though these look so much better than like the very, very first shots, like this is still not.
Yeah,
good,
it doesn't look as harsh. So basically, as we're when you look back, let me pull this up. Give me 1 second. Let's see. I don't think I have the latest. Let me pull this. Let me open this up here. So I don't have those rendered out. So I've also been going around basically relighting everything as we should. There's nothing wrong with that process. And maybe this shot here. don't know which shot. I think I like this one. And let me try to pull. Sorry, it's taking a second to load. I mean, I guess that's the other thing that I get stressed out about. When I'm doing the stream, I get all nervous. It's like, oh, it's taking forever. Is it going to load? Okay. So what Miguel was saying, that we completely redid the environment. So this is one of our older versions of the set. We started getting a little bit better lighting. So you can see we don't have as much of the main issues. But we still didn't really like the look of our environment. And again, I haven't re-rendered that yet. So I have to open this to show. But it looks like this now. So you can see it's become like a much more colorful environment, right? If you look over here, we got intense colors like really red soil and dirt. We just decided to really push the art direction. We also tried to do like plants and stuff. At this part, it was a pain because we started with like early access and the plants had all this noise and all these issues. And then I just kind of gave up on plants. And then what we ended up doing was let's just make these type of plants.
Succulent.
So they're succulents. They don't have opacity maps. They're all, solid mesh models. You can see here. They don't have the noise problem. Subsurface scattering in Unreal is actually pretty nice. I don't know if it's as good for skin. I haven't done skin tests. But for plants like this, they work really well. And they've helped us a lot in place of like grass. So we had grass and trees. We have some trees back here, but they tend to be more for silhouette. I don't think they look as good. Maybe there's a way to do it, but I haven't figured that out. So you can see how the shot here has evolved a lot versus, this one here, where we did.
Is that the one with the new face animation?
Yeah. I just can't play it because I don't know where let's play. Well, it just has like this bad delay. It's in there though. You're just not seeing it because it's kind of, updating. But she does that little head nod. But anyway, let's come back here. Let's look at this, our first look. So with our new map, it never looks as ugly. Here was my first pass at it. It's better. I mean, some of our shots, could still kind of look like this. But I just felt that, I don't know, it didn't feel right.
And the anteater's not there yet.
Yeah, but I also think the lighting, like minus that, we're still working on this shot. I still need to shot model and file. He doesn't have the anteater in his hand, but it's kind of harsh. Like the shadows are really black on her. And the light hitting her is orange. Her skin looks kind of orange. I did want an orange light because I feel like that's sun coming down. And then here's the final. Well, not final. I'll probably still.
Yeah. So no clothing simulation. The face we're still going to tweak the expression a little bit.
Yeah. So, but you can see here, it's a little bit brighter. Her shadows are more filled in. They're softer. She's not turning orange because she's not an orange person, right? And then just adding a lot of grass back here. The framing is not going to be here. We're probably going to lose this much down here. But, I don't know. Miguel can readjust framing. But I think this is better. So what it means is if I were to compare my lighting here And here, this is brighter. If I turn off my post-process, this would be a brighter scene. And this one would be darker. So it's working out. I don't know, if this is what you're supposed to do or this is the way. I don't really care. So, as long as my stuff looks better. But you can see there's no cloth sim, but the lighting on her is much nicer looking. Let's take a look at some of the other stuff. I thought this one looked pretty good even at a rough stage. This was the old one. What's this? What's going on? Oh, wrong map. Normally when I'm doing this, it's fine. It's hard to prep all this stuff because I have to load different maps. So this is our final here. And if I pull up the old one, the different versions. Give me 1 second. Okay, so this was the first one. But even, and this is rough, but our rough stuff started getting better. Right, it's got a nice rim light and stuff. Doesn't have to cloth sim, she doesn't have her materials. And then, let me pull up another
I think the
version.
animation changed on her though, right?
Yeah, the animation changed.
Because that was when I did the motion capture for that, and it looked like a guy.
Yeah. But you redid it, right?
Caitlin did.
Oh, you got Caitlin's performance.
Yeah.
So let's bring this one in here. This was the version before I relit it, which is not bad. This is supposed to be Koa here. And I like that lighting, but I touched it up.
It looks much better.
So I pushed the color back in. Our palette is like teal, blue, and red. And then what I also did is I put more intense lighting back here, so you can actually see her silhouette a little bit better. So if you look at the previous one, she's kind of lost a little bit. You're not really looking at her. And when I look, I'm like looking at him, and then I'm looking at her, probably because this is really red. This is washed out, so I'm barely looking at it. And if we come back here, what I did was I put a blue decal here to kind of wash out that a little bit. And then I just tried to make the light more intense here. Hopefully you're looking at a dad. And then you are, story-wise also noticing her more than in the previous ones. So it's just things like that. Yeah, anything you want to add?
No, I really like the lighting on this one.
Well, it was pretty good at even the initial stage.
Alex just wrote.
Thanks, Alex.
Cool. Looks awesome now. Alex saved our butt this week by letting us borrow his computer.
Yeah.
So thank you, Alex.
So we ran to Gnomon. Thank you, Alex. And then we picked up his computer and we're like,
we'd be
saved
screwed.
us. Because if your computer goes down, you can't go, today, in today's world, you can't go into a store and pick up a new computer. There's not a store where there is something like this. Like if you pick up a computer like at Best Buy, it's most likely not going to be strong enough at all.
My mom suggested we go to the Apple store and buy one now. Oh,
we had a person on the stream ask, can we use Mac? And I was like, no. You need really, really good graphics card. So here's one shot that has evolved a lot over time. Let me just pull up the old ones. And these were our first shots, so they're probably our worst shots.
if we were to try this scene on an iMac, I literally think it would explode.
Give me one second. Okay, let me load the first render. Oh, first one's really gaggy.
But so yeah, in the meantime, so this is like we said this a million times, but this is the process we've done on every project ever. It's
just
constant iterations and improvements all the way to the end.
Yeah, and it's usually just we kind of don't talk about it because I don't have a problem talking about it. It's just not anything we tend to really reveal.
Well, that's what's kind of been the hardest for us doing this whole web stream thing, is the fact that we know that this is our process, and we know that by the end of the process, the stuff that we initially showed we're going to despise. And this goes back to like even having like a sketchbook. If you finish your sketchbook and you like the first page as much as the last page, that means you haven't improved at all. Right? So if by the time you get to the end of your sketchbook, that first page that you were so proud of better look freaking horrific to you. And it's kind of like that. The problem is now we have to show every step as we go, which is beneficial to people that are getting into this. But for us, it was something that was very grueling, because we didn't want to show the stuff that we knew we were going to hate. We just want to show the awesome final product. But the reality is that's not how this works. It's going to suck. For 90% of the process, you think you're a fake. You think you're an imposter. This is the project that everyone is going to realize you're a hack, and that's the 90% of the process.
It's an imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I tutor a lot of beginning students at Gnomon, and then students on their way out. What we call them, I refer them as demo reel students, meaning that's like the last class they're taking. Initially, when I tutor beginning students, all they want to really see is just the steps, right? Like, how do you open this software? What are the buttons I need to push to make this work? So it's more technical information as they're wrapping around, like, what do you do in 3D? By the time they get to the demo reel, they kind of know all that stuff already, and they're more interested in the process. So they want to see where things look bad and why it looks bad. Or like how to make it look good. So it's a very different thing. Like later students is more talking about make it look good. Early students is like, how do you make it work? So, for us, we're showing you some technical things and definitely how we're figuring out to make it good. So this is one of our shots here, right?
This is maybe the first or second shot we ever did.
Yeah, so we play it out. She's just walking off here. There's a lot that's changing, like her facial expressions. Let's say,
oh, this is so terrifying.
That was our first. It's still better than that. The shot where she turns her head up is really horrifying. She's out of focus.
But when we got this, we were super happy because we're like, okay, this is going to work. We got the motion capture to work. We got the face to work.
We were going from here. Look at this. This one's the worst. I think this one's the ugliest one.
I'm gonna get that tattooed on my back. Like,
it's so ugly. Like her eyes are like really dead and scary looking. Which, by the way, we came up with a cheat around that. So when we were looking at this, we thought, oh, this is like cool, right? I mean, in comparison. And then here, this was with our old set. See, now you can see the performance.
You can see the animation has changed a lot on the face in particular.
Yeah. So this one's bringing up the polish. And again, I haven't rendered this one out, so I'll just play it in Unreal.
But this is one that we actually kicked back to someone to hand animate the face. So they used the mocap, but then animated on top of it. Just I wanted to get that side eye, the timing of it perfectly, the brow coming down a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, this is what I've been doing. I wish someone told me how to like I hope it's valuable to someone watching this. I certainly would have it would have saved me months of pain and confusion. I think the hard part is like you're doing this and I technically feel like I'm not a terrible artist. Like I shouldn't be terrible, but I was getting very terrible results. And I didn't know what to do or have anyone help explain how this works to me. So I was very, you know, I would say the word is kind of stressed. Miguel, well, we usually always figure things out, but I always just get stressed, even if I know that it's probably going to work out. Let's take a look at this. I don't hate this shot.
This is the best looking shot of our old shots by far. Yeah.
This was the best of it. But I still like the newer one more, like the color more.
Play it.
Hold on. I'm confused by my windows. And my player, I just need to restart Unreal to get the player to come back, I think. It has the right palette. It's more art directed. What are you thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this we've actually even updated some of the animation on it, fixed some of the pops.
Yeah.
This is not even the final. We're doing one more pass of this.
Yeah. So it's a bunch of passes. It's relighting.
That's actually what I was thinking.
Yeah. That's, you know, and eventually it will.
We have to put blood on the spear.
Yeah. There's a lot to do. There's a bunch of stuff to do. Is there anything else I should show, you think? You have in mind?
No, I mean, I could just show, let me see, give me a minute. Let me just bring in.
We're nearing the finish. I think we're, our pace is still pretty good. Even though we had that meltdown. Maybe lost like a day of work.
No, we did not. We lost 2-3 days of work.
Yeah, 2 days. But
yesterday I was just spending time updating license files and re-rendering stuff that's completely missing.
Yeah, so we did lose some data. The data was not bad. It was basically a couple frames of renders. But if you lose like one frame of your render, you have to re-render the whole thing. So, which is still not the worst case scenario. It could be much worse. So I'm trying to open this scene. And if I am opening a bunch of other maps and then I try to load one, it starts just acting slow. So this is probably a shot I'm going to go back and rework, which is this one here. As you can see, it's backlit, which is not my best friend. I struggle with these ones. It looks a little bit muddy. I'm going to save this for more towards the end because it's not the worst looking shot. And I think I know how to fix it.
But it's the one that we both don't like, but at the same time, there's a lot of things I do like about it. Like I like the composition. It shouldn't not work, but it's not working.
Yeah, if I lit this in V-Ray, it would work. But here's, you know, I keep saying that, and I don't mean to be disparaging whenever I say that. I love Unreal. I'm going to have a hard time not using Unreal. Like I would still want to keep using it. But I already know here to fix this, I just need to blast fill light in and bring it down. And then hopefully that will fix those things. That's my thinking. I need to be brighter. So now my, you know, my scene's already really bright. shots that work really great in Unreal, and it took me a while to realize it. Basically, if you just light it from the front, hey everyone, I don't know if people can hear me. Miguel's computer just like turned off or something like that. So I'm going to continue to stream. I think you guys can hear me. Usually all my sound is being controlled through one system. He's going to come back on in a second, but I'm going to continue talking. Okay. I don't know if James is, if you're there, if you can hear me. Sound check me. Okay, cool. All right, so let's just resume from here. So shots that work really well, that are very easy to light, are more like front lighting. So you can see here, or this is more side lighting. It's also medium, and all this goes out of focus, so it looks much nicer. If I get out of that frame, just kind of show you what it looks like. Without it, it looks really harsh, right? It looks very weird. But once everything goes out of focus, when we're using a longer lens, it looks much better. And again, yeah, I have a different system. The design of the rock thing is cool. Thank you. Miguel actually did it. Hopefully, like all you guys, like in the stream, you know, once we're done, you guys check out like the final short. I mean, it's gonna be shorter than all the streams that we've done here. This shot worked out okay. It's also backlighting. I'll probably revisit this. It's a little harsh. I think that the reason why this shot doesn't look as bad is because the camera is super dynamic. So, you know, it's changing a lot. And you see the sky. And so it's more forgiving, especially considering how fast it goes. But if I look at any kind of frame, I don't really think it looks kind of muddy. Right, so I'll come back and address these. Give me 1 second, I'm trying to load some other sequences. How's it going, Miguel? He's dead. So give me 1 second. I don't know if there's any questions. Maybe I can answer some while this sequence is loading. Here's another shot. Oh, it's a little short. And I talk about this all the time in the streams. I basically talk about how I can't backlight anything, and I struggle with that because all of our stuff is always backlit. It's always very dramatic, very moody, and there's a lot of things that we put in shadow, including characters. And I think it looks nice. I mean, I like it. And we kept trying to do that here, and what we've settled on is maybe a couple of backlit shots, and then most of everything is side lit or even front lit. So here you can see the light it's not backlit. We're getting lighting from the side. They're so much more easy to light, and they just don't look, they don't look as terrible. This one's still a work in progress. So you can see none of this is shot model. All the shoulders messed up and there's no clots in. But lighting wise, it looks all right. And if here I show you a more frontless shot, they're always so much more effortless for me. Nighttime or shadow shots are tricky. Let's wait for this one to load here. Yeah, Miguel's computer is just like, well, I guess it's Alex's computer. It just shut down.
So when I try to open them back,
Oh, it crashed.
it crashed the restream and then it crashed.
Oh, I see. We have too many things open. If I have Premiere, Unreal, and I have Maya, I'm not rendering, but they all are a kind of drain. Let's take a look at this shot. So perfect scenario, really tight. She's frontlit, so the lighting looks nice. At least I think it looks nice. This looks like, to me, like a regular, like a V-Ray shot or Arnold shot, or not exactly, I'm sure, but I would find it like believable, right? So if all our movie was like this, all really tight shots, everything would be really easy to light and everything was frontlit. But again, that took time to kind of work out on how to do this. I don't think Miguel will be back for the last 5 minutes of our stream, so it'll just be me.
It's loading.
It's loading. I think, yeah. Well, that's it. I don't know if you guys can hear Miguel, but he is talking. But that's this week. Lots of hell. But we'll be good. Well, I'm good for now. We're still able to work. So my next step is just to come in and relight all the stuff that Miguel showed you in the previous type of work. And I think that's it. Or maybe Miguel can get on doing it. Yeah, he's not loading. Give me 1 second. Let's go back here. And let's look back over progress. First look, it's scary. Second look, oh, I'm getting all kinds of error messages. Oh, okay. I'll have to figure out what that is. Our next one. Are you back in?
Yeah.
Okay, Miguel's back.
So you can turn your mic off.
To say goodbye.
Yeah, that was a pain. So what else? So next week our goal is to have, let me see what this is like. To have this sequence looking better, at least some of it. So let me just play it one more time so we can see.
While he's doing that, my goal next week is to get through our other sequences, give him lighting pass, and then eventually go back and light all the stuff Miguel's doing.
Yeah, so these shots, this right here, so this will be it. So it'll be this part here.
Nani?
So you can see like the mask appears, disappears, the clothing appears, the clothing disappears.
Naked, not naked.
They're naked, not naked. So again, we don't care about any of this stuff at this point.
Sasa najua ninachotaka. Baba anakutafuta. Lazima twende sasa hivi. Mkaka wako karibia unichome. Sasa hivi. Ningetaka kukuchoma, ningekuchoma. Lazima twende. Ngoja tuone kama utapenda. Jaribu. Hata ungeanguka kutoka kwenye mti, hungegonga ardhi. Wewe si chui. Tafadhali kaa kimya. Kila mtu anakuchukia na kuonya. Wewe ni aibu kwa baba.
You see the ground like literally runs out there.
Yeah, but this Pre-vis stuff does look a lot better than our first Pre-vis. It was so bad. So bad looking.
So yeah, so that'll all look much better soon. I was hoping that by this week I was going to have all the faces working here. 'Cause you can see like obviously the lip sync doesn't line up at all, but we'll get all of that. Another thing is I need to go back into this shot here. So the idea is she's going to be wearing her little crappy mask. So when she turns here, we might have it like fly off because she turns really fast, or we might have her take it off right here because she wouldn't want her sister to see her wearing, you know, her wannabe mask.
Yeah, that
mask is a status symbol for those that haven't been following this amongst their tribe, and she doesn't have one. So she made her own, and she'd be embarrassed that her sister saw her wearing it.
yeah, and it's supposed to look it looks flimsy because that's how it's supposed to look.
Yeah, but that's also, you know, I think it's really cute. So yeah, but that's it. So we'll see you guys next week.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll have a lot of cooler stuff to show.
Yeah,
All
we'll
of
have
the
more stuff to
Tran
show.
showed today was really cool. And yeah, thank you guys. And we'll see you soon. If you want to follow our work, check us out on Instagram. That's usually the only place we really post our trailers and stuff like that. That's the place. And yeah, thank you guys. So Bad Biddy 95.
Green Coke. Ricardo. Hey, Ricardo.
Ricardo. Yeah, the last shots, they're going to get really intense. Once you have the Houdini blood coming out, it's going to be...
Yeah, and we want to talk about that because it's not straightforward when you're dealing with those alembic files. So out of Houdini, we're getting really amazing simulations from Gnomon students, and it's not that easy to get it into Unreal.
Yeah, You do have to use like a beta thing, which is like Alembic streaming, which we'll talk about soon. Basically, you're not ever loading the Alembic into Unreal; it's just streaming it, and it's basically just for animatic type stuff, and not even animatic because this would be for like animation. So the Alembic is always on the drive itself, not in the Unreal project. So yeah, we'll talk about that soon. So, and that's been fun because there's like 0, 0, 0, 0 documentation on that. There's nothing on that. So we had to figure that out, which was a pain in the butt. But okay, well, we'll see you guys. Thanks again, and let me see where I have the graphics here. There we go. All right, we'll see you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.